Alright, welcome back to the dungeon. In this video we're going to be taking a look at replacing a pair of blown fork seals on this Suzuki 2002 GSF 600S Bandit. You can see this thing's been leaking for a while. You can see the telltale signs. It's actually been wiped and it's still been leaking. Still feels alright, but it's time to do these. So what's going to happen is headlight's going to have to come off because these are clamped onto the forks. This is aftermarket. I'm going to be replacing that thing anyway, so it's about time it comes off. And then we're going to have to get the forks off the bike. So we're going to be basically using in tandem parts from the manual, the front fork and the front wheel, because we're going to need to get the wheel off. So the brake calipers are going to have to come off. I like to use a pair of zip ties. I just grabbed some 11-inch zip ties, use 2 of them each. Once we get the brake caliper off, just hang it somewhere off the bike. Just make sure that the brake line isn't kinked or anything, because you don't want to damage that at all. So once we get those off, we're going to loosen the pinch bolts on the top of the forks, just the top ones so far, because we want to loosen these caps on here, because these are kind of tough to loosen up, and you're not going to get them loose if they're once you got them off. So you want to be able to loosen these things while they're off the bike. We also have to get the front wheel off the ground. This bike has a center stand, and what's nice about it, I've just been playing with it, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. It does not take a lot of weight to bring it up. That'll be enough on the front wheel to bring us up. So I was looking at using my motorcycle lift on the bike, and we burnt all my wood, all the good scrap wood, because we're idiots. So even still, it doesn't take a lot, and I'm 99% sure I could do this by just jacking up on the exhaust, but I really don't want to do that. So I cut a hole in the ceiling. I'm actually going to put a ratchet strap under the frame here, if you can see it, but I can get just under the frame. So ratchet strap up to the ceiling so I can lift that front up a little bit, and I'll put the stand under it to support it a little bit anyway. All right, so 10mm brake clamp, take those off so it's loose. Then 14mm on the caliper bolts. I just loosened them. They're going to take a little bit of pressure. And tie it up. Right there. Out of the way. Brake cable's not going to be in our way. And it's not kinked. So now while the wheel is still on here, we want to loosen the top pinch bolt. This is a 6mm Allen. Okay. All right, so we got the pinch bolt loose, just sitting in there. This part's kind of tricky because you can't get a full socket over there, even if you loosen the handlebars. It just doesn't work. So I normally go with a crescent type wrench, but or an adjustable. But I got this new Knipex. I'm gonna see if I can do this. Oh, this isn't gonna be easy, is it? This right here, this is the reason I shoot these longer videos and try not to cut too much of it out. I could not break this thing loose, so I loosened the handlebars up. 6mm Allens. After taking those things off, I've now got a 22mm on a breaker bar. There it is. I saw it loosen. Am I right? That's all I needed. Once this thing was off, there's no way I was ever gonna break that one loose. Oh, come on. Can I get it in there? Yes. I never loosened the pinch bolt. Taking these Fender 8mm bolts out, know that there's this retainer clip on the inside, like that. That's what it's driving into. So when I pull this thing out, you're gonna have to remember to put that piece back in, because that's what these 8mm bolts, you can see it hanging there. That's what those are going to be hanging into. I'm also going to loosen my 12mm pinch bolts up from the clamp here, just so I crack them loose a little bit. And then the next thing is going to be actually getting the wheel off the ground. But it's just going to be easier. So much of this is easier if you can loosen the stuff while they're on the ground. Got my ratchet strap around just to make sure it fit there. There's 2 more bolts I wanted to loosen first. These pinch bolts on the bottom here, just get those loose. Actually, I'll take these fully out because these are the axle pinch bolts. we're going to be taking the axle out. The axle does not have a nut on both sides. So it's, what do you think? What do we guess that is? I bet that's 17. I don't know that for a fact. Guess, Matt, that was a 17. Can we? Okay. Now, if you're worried about these things, make sure you take pictures of the orientation of the spacers and whatnot. It's just going to save you when you put these things back together. Fuck's sake, I should have recorded that travesty as soon as I pulled the axle out. It fell down. Luckily, I strung it up, because, actually, that's not what's holding it up. That's what's holding it up. And it is a 17 millimeter. Oh boy, are we going to be able to lift this? Yes, we are. Okay. Now that you got a lesson in what not to do, let's see. I got one of the spacers on this side and the other spacer right here. Put those on the spot marked wheel. And I can pull my wheel out, put it off to the side. Jesus Christ. All right, so 12 millimeter pinch bolts here. Yeah, as soon as those got loose, I can drop this bad boy. Come here. And that's a fork out. All right, so we got one of the forks off of the Bandit. I just did the other one. Ran into some issues. Glad I did the other one first, because had some issues with the oil lock getting stuck. But we're gonna go through this. It's kind of a messy process. Whatever you're budgeting, budget an extra $8 to grab a thing of shop towels. So we loosened up this 22 millimeter to start with. These are fine threads. So what we need to do is take this cap off. I'm gonna get it started, and it's gonna end up shooting out about that far, so you want to keep pressure on it once it starts getting there. And I put some extra shop towels below it to catch the oil that's going to come out. There it goes. Okay, we're going to take a couple pieces out of here, lay them out. I'm going to take the spacer out. That oil actually looks really clean. Then I'm going to take it over here and dump a bit so I can get the spring. There's a spacer on top of the spring. Set that there. Let's see if I can get the whole spring out. See, this spring was tight coils up. That's how I remember the other one coming out. And there's a lot of debate on the inner tubes about which way it should be. Manual says tight coils down. A lot of people were arguing for you want the unsprung weight up top, which is what I would argue in favor of, but this one was not that way. I have a feeling this has never been gone through before. So, shit, I can't turn the camera off, can I? I'm gonna let the rest of this drain out, and then we're gonna keep going. Draining this fork, I usually just hang it up by the vise. And sometimes I pump it just to see if I can get more out. But coming up to the top, I never slam it anymore, because that oil lock ends up getting stuck, and then you cannot break these things apart easily. Granted, we'll be able to break the nut, but that'll be important later. But just want to point out, on this fork more so than any other fork I've ever dealt with, don't slam this thing up if the the bolt is still through there. The next thing we got to do is remove this cylinder bolt. And I hate to say, unlike the last one I did, this one's pretty chewed up. This might not be nearly as easy as the last one I did. But I'm going to bring it up to there. And I may end up needing the spring and the spacer to put tension on this. So I'm just going to have these at the ready. Like so. And this is an 8 millimeter, I'm breaking it loose. Now this thing can end up just spinning in there by itself, but that's why we're going to put some extra tension on it. Hopefully we can break it. It says if you can't, use an air wrench. Oh, I don't like how this one feels compared to the other one. gonna try to give it a quick. Oh, God damn. I got it. But I should be able to get this thing all the way out. I need a magnet for you. Nope, I don't. That's what I'm talking about. How well does that one fit? It's still gonna work out. Because you don't have to tighten these things super, super tight. It recommends Loctite. I say no. Okay, there is a crush washer that I'm missing. There's a crush washer inside of it. Let's get that, because we're gonna need that. Come on. I mean, I can just leave it, just know it's there. But there is a copper crush washer, and that's going to help us from leaking oil out the bottom. If it doesn't want to fight me, I'm not going to fight it. I didn't see any leaking from the bottom, so that's going to stay there. Alright, spacer back out. Spring back out. Now, actually we should be able to get the damper rod all the way back out. Damper rod, spring, oil ring on top. This little spring here, this is actually part of that oil lock. That fell out. That's not supposed to be out like that. And now we can take the dust seal off. As I said, it's a messy process. Get a pretty thin flathead. Make sure you don't go nicking on the chrome finish here. And usually if I'm going to be trying to pry something off like this, this part is less important than the finish here, because the seal is going to have to deal with this part. That's what's going to be destroying seals, so I'm going to put it all the way up so that if I did happen to nick it, I'm nicking it at a less important part. And I know I'm actually going to reuse the seal because the All Balls kit that I'm going to be replacing this with, I don't like the look of the dust seals at all, and these ones still look fine to me. These aren't nearly as important. Alright, now we've got a clip that's holding in the seal, and with the screwdriver, again, being very careful not to nick anything. It's a split clip. Actually, I think if I start there, we can work this thing out. This is way better than a snap ring circlip, because I've had to fight those and I've lost. Now this next part, depending on who you ask, is the fun part, because it's not obvious how to get this apart, because you get stuck there. Well, there's a bushing, a washer, and another bushing, and all those things are behind the seal, and the seal was driven in. The only way to get this apart is to pull them apart. I wouldn't wash my hands. You want as little oil on this as possible because you're going to need a good grip, but oh, I got lucky on the first one. Sometimes you got to take quite a few whacks at it. I have fought with some that take quite a few more. There's the seal. There's the washer. There's the first bushing I mentioned, and there's the second. And this is that little, you can see it's already stuck. This is where I'm going to have a trick for you, because I just fought with this thing. And that's the oil lock. Alright, so now, so we're going to end up throwing this seal away. I'm going to pull it off, because this one is blown. Put it in my bad boy pile. Now, being careful, because we don't want to nick this at all, especially on the bottom. Just pull the washer up, and then the bushing should slide up as well. So we'll set that there, and that there. And this spring is actually supposed to be on the inside of this piece. Now this piece is what gave me hell on the first one. That can't be in there. It says in the instructions, oh, just remove it. Doesn't really give you a whole lot. Yeah, remove the following parts. Oil lock piece. Now, the thing I'm going to tell you is that inside of here, you see it looks like it's, I actually can't spin that one. Anyway, there's a piece inside of this stanchion tube, this fork inner. that is tapered, that accepts this oil lock, and this oil lock keeps it from bottoming out. It keeps a little bit of oil between it so it doesn't just smack if you hit something real hard and start breaking things. It keeps a liquid barrier between all the rest of the parts and the bottom. There's going to be a little bit of oil left, but we need to get this thing out. So if you come in and just start, this is what I use, 1 inch PVC, and then I wrap a bunch of duct tape around it. Don't do this, I'm just showing you something. If you come in, well, that actually will work. Should show you. Oh no, the damper rod's out. Okay, so if you come in here and just start smacking, this will literally do nothing to get that thing out, because there is a lip around the inside of here. It's pressed in, it's not a serviceable part. If it's broken or something, basically you got to toss this whole thing, because you can't, it's not serviceable. So the way to get that out is to actually set the stanchion tube, or sorry, not the stanchion, sorry, the damper. Oh, it just did it for me. But basically what I was going to say is if you got it stuck back in there and you press this through, you'll make contact with the damper rod instead of that little lip. So then we can knock that thing out. This damper rod is what's going to give you all of your travel. The oil lock sits here, and the oil lock has a smaller inner diameter than the outer diameter of the damper rod. Okay, so it sits like that. And all of this gets attached with this screw right here. So the damper rod always is in place. And as the spring compresses and oil has nowhere to, it's got to move down, because that oil seal is going to be driving oil down. It's got to move through these holes. And since that takes energy and you're restricting the flow, it's going to dampen the amount of travel that this thing has. Now that little spring that I found, that's actually supposed to fit in here. And you don't need to see me piddle with it, because it's not going to be obvious how it goes. Well, maybe it is. Anyway, there's six little rings, and you just got to get it to stay in there. I'll do that one off camera because that'll be boring to watch. But we've now essentially got the entire fork taken apart. Now the serviceable parts, the only things that I'm going to be changing are, I'm going to be putting on, I'm actually just going to be using the old dust seal, and I'm going to be putting on a new seal. This is the kit that I'm going to be using, Nolballs 56-129, and quite frankly, I'll show you why I'm not going to use their dust seals. This is the difference. I don't like their dust seal at all. It seems like without having this lip, water, I guess water isn't going to pool on it, but it's a flat surface. I don't know. Plus they don't look as good. Anyway, I think if I would have done it again, I would have not bought the dust seals. I would have just bought the fork seals. All right, so I'm going to clean all of this up. I want to get as much oil out of it, off of it as possible. The other serviceable parts in here that I'm not doing, you can change this bushing, the common ones I should say that are serviceable, that bushing, and change that bushing. And if your circlip is showing a ton of rust or something, these can break, and if it's an actual snap ring circlip, that sucks because it's impossible to get out. But this one, it's pretty springy. I feel pretty good about this. It's not showing rust all over, so I'm going to be reusing that. But you could replace the bushings if you're in this far. Maybe consider it. This is actually this oil ring here. Inspect it, but I don't think you're going to have to be replacing it. All right, I'm going to clean brake cleaner, carb cleaner, starter fluid, whatever kind of organic solvent you got sitting around. Get this thing as clean as possible. Then we're going to start reassembly. Okay. Reassembly time. I'm going to do one thing a little different than what the instructions say because of the troubles that I ran into with this part. Specifically what they say is to install this here and just push it in. I don't want to do that because it gets stuck and then I'm screwed. So I'm going to put the damper rod with the spring down through the stanchion, out the other side. Where are you? There you are. Okay, so now what I can actually do is actually show you this. We're going to end up over the top of this, driving the bushing into that recess. It'll sit in there. The washer will sit on top of it, and the oil oil seal will sit in the next recess right here. So I went through and I cleaned all this up. And it looks pretty good. It's something I like to do is put a little bit of grease on there. And I like using this Valvoline grease, and maybe I'm wrong for doing it, but with how much I had to fight that other one, I'm doing this. I get both recesses because it worked pretty well when I did it that way. The other thing I'm going to do is put some grease on here to help if it does, because it is going to seat. There's no getting around that. I want a light coating of grease on there, so when it does sit in there, it's less likely to get stuck. That's actually not even enough. Now I did put that little spring back in there. We'll try that. All right, it's a greasy process. So I need to lightly set that there. And this is going to go in. And the big thing I need to avoid doing is slamming this into the bottom. I'm just going to get it so it's resting. Just barely. Right there. Now, can you stand? Yes, you can. All right, just in the interest of not nicking anything, I put a light coating of grease on there and bring it down. And I'm going to seat that bushing there. Now we're going to use a seal driver, and actually I want to put this washer over it to give it a more contact area. Okay. Now, I'm still kind of not 100% sold. Oh, shit, I'm jumping the gun. We need to put this in. And in order to do that, I need to put a little bit of pressure on the screw, which means I need to put the spring in, and I need to grab my 8, grab that, bring this off the side. Again, I'm not going hard on any of this because I don't want that oil stop to end up seating. So I've got it, so I just feel that it's getting a little bit tight. I'm gonna put some pressure up top on the spacer, and I'm gonna give it that. That's it. That's it. So if I need to get it back off, I will be able to. Okay, now I can stand this up and put together my seal driver. I borrowed this one from a coworker. Jury's still out on whether or not this is a good one, but coincidentally it actually works well for this purpose because it doesn't require being clamped onto the actual stanchion tube. We'll slide across it. Now I'm putting 41 millimeter I don't know, plungers on it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lift that. See how it got stuck a little? That's it seating. I'm gonna be sliding up and down it. And I'm gonna slam into this, and we're gonna seat that bushing. Okay, I think I just saw it drop all the way in. And that bushing should be all the way in. That comes out. Could have taken that out. Oops. Can I still move it up? Oh god, it's stuck. Oh, okay, that's what I was worried about. I can't have that oil stopper get totally stuck in there, or else we won't be able to extend this all the way up and get the spring, spacer, and cap on it. All right, now I'm freaked out about this. All right, new seal. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on it, on the inside there. The inside to protect it, and then the outside to hopefully help it go in a little easier. Okay, let's put this over the top. So we've already got the washer in, Just want to be a little careful with that. If you have a nicked up stanchion, what is that? Something like that. I thought I was going all over this thing to rub it out. There are ways to get these slid over. There, I went away. There are ways to get this slid over without nicking it up if you got rusted out areas, but this one looks real good. So I'm going to bring that down to here, and you can start it with your fingers. And we need to get it below the circlip point. Now, if this was a smaller one, I've used this in the past. It's a 1.5 inch PVC, but this fork is too big. All right, let's try out our seal driver again. Okay, I try to hold that up a little bit. This is what I didn't like about the seal driver. It's not driving it straight. There. I want to give it a good thwack, but I don't like that's not driving in straight. That's not straight at all. It's one of those lower. Ah, we're getting somewhere. Okay, we are there. Let me try one more. I should be able to get the clip in. As long as we can get the clip in, it's good. Can I? Oh my God, that sucks. Did I pull it up too much? Nope, okay. Put the clip over the top. Find your little screwdriver wherever I put that thing. Or actually, since I don't need to, I can use something soft. I can use a pen. There, it's clicked in. It's all the way in. New seal is in. I'd mentioned I had the all balls ones, but I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use the old dust cover. I like it better. It looks fine to me still. Okay, you're on. All right. Now, we need to get some oil in here. Now, I tested this on the last one. What you need to do is find a place, the place, 4.6 inches from the top, and you take this measurement, oh God, with the stanchion tube all the way down, right there. And the spring needs to be out of it when you do this. And you're going to fill it until it is 4.6 inches from the top. Was that right? Okay, it just seemed a little long. Yes, all right. And it turned out it was exactly 500 milliliters on the last one. Instructions say that it's going to be 506 or 510. And it's probably likely because I didn't fully get all of the oil off. So I'm gonna pour some stuff out. I'm gonna do it the whole way, but you don't need to watch me measure out 500 milliliters, but I'll stop once I get to about 480 and we'll get precise. Okay, so what I did is I drew a dry erase line right there. That's 4.6 inches. And it might be tough. I think this is gonna have us pretty much spot on at 4.6 inches. There it is. Just got on the bottom. I might be a 1/4 inch over, but you gotta spend money to make money. All right, now we're just about at the end. And this is why we cannot have that thing getting stuck at the bottom, because we have to extend this. Bring that bad boy up, because we are putting a spring in. I'm doing this the way that the manual says. The manual also says, check this thing. If it's under 14 inches, you need to replace it. That one's over 14 inches. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't replacing it regardless. I'm doing tighter coils down just because that's what the manual says, and it's what I did on the other one. Even though in my head, the other way makes more sense. Okay, you go in. And the spacer goes in right there. And the last two pieces are going to be the washer over the top and the cap itself with the oil ring. One thing I'm going to do first is go wash my hands and get the oil off these pieces, because I want a really strong grip on this, because see how fine these threads are? You don't want to cross thread these things, so I want to know exactly that I'm getting a tight grip. And hopefully this thing doesn't just fall down and then I lose all the oil. All right, hands have been washed. Now I want to keep this all the way up, and I want to get this down onto it, and then I'm going to start turning, and you can turn the stanchion tube to do it. That might actually be the better way to keep pressure on the top. There we go. And let's grab you and make the rest of this happen. And we'll get it pretty snug, you know, but we're not torquing it down here. We're gonna actually do that when it's on the bike, in the clamps, because we know it won't be moving then. There we go. And we have rebuilt the fork, and we didn't have to take this piece off. And I should see, hopefully, that it's not going to just start pissing all over the place. And of course, now I don't know how much oil is going to be coming through or how much grease is going to be coming up from putting it all over the inside of the seals. I guess time will tell if I just wasted my time and made things worse or not. Actually, that doesn't look like any more is coming off. Now it's just wiping it. Good news for us! Now we can put it back on the bike. That front fender's a bitch if you don't have long fingers. I think we're ready to get this thing on the ground now. We've got the calipers back on, 2 bolts for each, 1 for the cable. We've got these pinch bolts tightened, so it's not going to drop in there, but they're not Hercules tight, because we're going to end up having to undo them to straighten this thing up. We've got the top pinch bolts very tight, and you want the distance of the cap above the pinching area on the triple tree to be the same on each side. So if the wheel looks crooked, we're going to loosen these things up, rock the thing all back and forth, and we'll get it straightened up. Okay. There. And down. We are back. We're almost there. One last thing to do. So I've tightened the tops of the tubes. The last thing to do is to get the wheel totally straight. And in order to do that, I mean, sometimes you might just get lucky and it's there. but I can see this one needs to, that's straight and the wheel's turning left a little bit. So the way we're gonna do that, make sure the top pinch bolts are tightened like they should be. Then we're gonna take the triple tree ones, loosen these things up. Now there's a quick way and a long way to do this. The long way is the way I'm gonna do it, just by yourself. The quick way is to grab a friend and have them put their legs in between the front wheel. So I'm going to hold the front brake and I'm just going to rock it back and forth a good bit of times. Then I got to put it back on the center stand and see where I am. Shit, that almost got me there. I gotta take a couple more shots. But that's the fork change, fork seal change, whatever I just did. Thanks for watching.